Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get together here on Facebook, live every morning at 10:30, where we get together and we discuss the latest headlines and things that are going on and news and all kinds of fun topics that concerns us as English speaking locals. It's always great to see people that join us on a day to day basis, and it's always great to welcome people that join us for the first time. If you happen to be joining us for the first time, please leave the word new in your comments, and we will be so very happy to welcome you to the broadcast. Today, I'm paying close attention to how my computer is behaving because I want to make sure that we have a good conversation. So do forgive me if I am speaking a little bit slowly because I'm just making sure that everything is going to be okay, and I'm going to get into my regular pace in just a second. Let me take a quick look at some of your comments to make sure that you are getting me loud and clear. It's always great to see people that are familiar with the show coming back, and it's always great to see new people joining us. Not quite first, but somewhat new. I see Michael. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Coffee and Headlines. I hope you find something inspiring here. Sharon is in the house with coffee in hand. I have already had a couple of cups, so I'm good to go. In fact, I've now switched to very cold water. As a matter of fact, I almost wish we had started today's broadcast maybe some 15 seconds prior, because just as the broadcast was starting, one of those vehicles that have loudspeakers was just driving down the street doing the loudest public service announcement about staying home and wearing face masks. And I thought you would have gotten a kick out of hearing it. Today, we have a lot of things going on. We have many news to share. Some news are important, other news are lively. We may have a caller in the middle of the show. We are going to have tips on how not to go Karen on social media. We're going to have a love letter to the wonderful Audra McDonald, who's going to be performing, or she's going to be live. I actually don't even know if she's going to be performing or just conversing about something through the Carnegie Hall Facebook page. But anything that Audra McDonald does, we love. And what else are we? Oh, of course, we're going to have a shout out to a phenomenal local restaurant that I've been talking about wanting to visit, and I finally got a chance to do that yesterday. And it was such a wonderful confirmation about why everybody should visit this restaurant. So all of this is what we're going to have today. We are just getting started, and I see that we have a bunch of people already online. So we might as well get going with the news. Let's take a look. Okay, for starters, yesterday afternoon I was browsing my Facebook, minding my own business, and I noticed that Governor Enrique Alfaro posted a video, and sitting with him is, of course, the Puerto Vallarta mayor, Dávalos, Arturo Dávalos, and I figured, oh shit, this has got to be a good meeting. I wonder what they're going to talk about. And I watched the video. The video was about 4 minutes long. I figured, well, this is something I'm going to have to translate and share. And in fact, I could have, but I didn't, because they talked about a lot of things and not necessarily a lot about COVID-19, which is interesting because it made me think about the fact that aside from the bars opening or not opening, aside from the numbers, COVID news are going to start becoming commonplace. But no important news are going to continue happening, because this is all part of the new normal. I mean, until a vaccine is discovered or until something drastic happens, with hospital capacity or numbers of cases and so forth. A lot of the news are going to continue being the same news, and the guidelines that we know we have to follow continue to be the same guidelines. So what did they talk about? Well, let's take a look at what was reflected from this conversation by some of the press. Contralinea, for example, went with the fact that hospital capacity is still good, but we have to continue to be careful. We already knew about this. The governor and the mayor talked about how the beaches have reopened, and we have to continue to be careful with the way we carry on at the beaches. They did mention that they mentioned that in Puerto Vallarta alone, hospital capacity is now at 50%. So it's not as low as the state average. So the numbers are important to be taken into account, at least in our state. Noticias PB focused on another aspect of the conversation, which is the rehabilitation of the lateral streets on our main access avenue, which is Medina Asensio. Those of us that have been living here for a long time know that once it starts to rain, the Avenida Francisco Medina Asensio, which is the main avenue through Puerto Vallarta, becomes a driving nightmare because of the flooding. The laterals get flooded so much that a lot of small vehicles get stuck in the water, and even the vehicles get flooded as well. So the governor acknowledged that fixing the streets is not only about fixing the surface of the streets, but it's also about making sure that under the streets there are enough pipes and enough stuff to make sure that rainwater goes where it's supposed to go. Then Alfaro also mentioned, this is from Heraldo de Mexico, how we need to start to learn living with the economic reaperture of our economy, and we have to learn how to live with the risk. Parenthetically, to make sure that this broadcast was a little bit more seamless than usual, I used a different web browser. I used Safari instead of Google Chrome. And Safari does not allow me to get rid of a lot of these ads that a lot of news outlets have thrown into their websites. Obviously, they're trying to make some money. And this is why I am happy to say that on our website, we don't have any kind of advertisers, because we want to make sure that you have the most fluid content, connection with the content as possible. Anyhow, Alfaro also talked about how budget is going to be made available to continue fixing up the estuary El Salado, which is in the middle of our city, because keeping it clean, keeping it healthy, keeping it green is absolutely important to the well-being of the flora and fauna that lives there. And of course, it's a great attraction for Puerto Vallarta. Vallarta Independiente, oh, look at all those ads. See, this is why we don't have ads. Vallarta Independiente focused on the fact that something that Alfaro said, which was interesting, had to do with the fact that even though, yes, there was an increment in numbers of cases when the beaches were reopened, the number of the increment of cases was not that significant. So this probably means that we tend to think that, you know, the whole city is going to go to hell once the beaches open, when in fact that is not necessarily the case according to the numbers. So the 4.5 minute video that Alfaro presented had to do with, what's the matter, Luna? Come here. Luna's complaining because she's not getting a lot of love. Come on, Luna, get up here. Luna, we're broadcasting. Anyhow, they talked about a lot of things that are important. They talked about COVID. Of course, they said that what we already know. They said that we need to continue to follow the guidelines. We need to continue to do what we've been doing. There are no new news when it comes to COVID-19, for better or worse. But we did find some other interesting news. Oh my goodness! Before we go on to that, let me just say hello to this little lady who is usually not hanging out here because of the summer heat. But come on, Luna, show your beautiful face. There you are. Here's Luna. She's alive and well, and she sends regards. Now, just stay there, be quiet while we continue with our adventure this morning. We see more interesting headlines. This one caught my attention because we see these kinds of acrylic face covers everywhere. But according to scientists from the Guadalajara University, these don't really work. And this article tells us why. Actually, when you think of it and you think about how air particles move through the atmosphere, it is clear to say why this would not be very efficient. A lot of restaurants are opting to go with these, but it is pretty commonly known that the ones that really help are the ones that are a 3-ply fabric. And so if I go into a restaurant or a public place where I see these types of face masks being used, well, I kind of have, I don't know, I go in with reservation, or I go in being careful of my surroundings, and I think that's what we all can do. Or you may simply choose to not go into a place where you see these types of face masks being used. Yesterday, I was contacted by the nice people at We Love PB. They put together a great article shining the spotlight on the Hospital Joya team, which is where our friend Pam Thompson is working. And this is a very interesting account of what things are like on a day-to-day operation at the hospital. So I recommend you read this because it'll give us some perspective as to what it's like to be working at a hospital at a time in which COVID-19 is a daily presence in the hospital. Let me take a quick look at your comments just to make sure that we're all on the same track. That is so sweet, Bill. Thank you very much for watching. It's always appreciated. Trucha is in the house. Good for you. Linda Vasquez chimes in that she is making masks for the hospitals. Thank you very much for all the work that you do. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. None of this is normal. I don't accept that. It is the new reality. Well, call it new reality, call it normal, call it not normal. Jeannie, it's not going to go away. What can I say? I said 50, not 15, 5-0 capacity. But again, we've talked about numbers, and we know that numbers are important, but only to a certain extent, because we feel that ultimately what's important is how we carry on about our lives in light of what's going on. Sylvie, your cat is also named Luna. That's wonderful. Hey, that's great. And Michael Buford is in the house. We're going to talk about one of Michael's beautiful restaurants in a minute. The Luna Cam is the best. Yes, I love Luna. I swear to God, I don't know how I would survive life as we know it without my beautiful kitty cat. She is my soul. She is my everything. Boom, 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 boom. Only sometimes, Rhonda. I don't always have a real calming way about me. Sometimes I get ugly, and sometimes my stupid mouth gets me in trouble, and that's part of what we're going to talk about in a minute. But first, let us dive into the leisurely part of our broadcast, because we have a lot of things to talk about. So if you were looking for important news, that section is over. If you want to distract your mind, feel creative, feel inspired, get some ideas of places to go or things to do in Puerto Vallarta to the extent that we can do, just stick around. For starters, we take a quick look at the weather. Oh my God, snarky weatherman says I could end a hostage situation by endorsing the film Super Babies 2, Baby Geniuses, but I just can't do it. Sorry, hostages. I love my weather program because it has some very interesting comments. Today it's 27 degrees Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit. Humidity is high. It's at 82%. There's a 5% chance that it'll rain. I just hope that it'll rain with a certain amount of enthusiasm because that's what keeps things a little bit more manageable. Today, Thursday, we can expect it to be humid and mostly cloudy throughout the day. Tomorrow, we will get rain overnight, and Saturday, we will get rain and it'll be humid throughout the day. Let's just hope for good weather. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about, if I may, is yesterday we celebrated my friend Sandy's birthday, and we went to celebrate Sandy's birthday at a local restaurant. Happy birthday, Sandy. Where did we go? We went to Siam Cuisine PV. Siam Cuisine PV is one of Michael Beaufort's successful restaurants in this town. And if you'll indulge me a few minutes, I want to tell you about the wonderful experience that we had. To begin with, disclaimer, Michael and I have been colleagues for many years, from the years in which I was the managing editor in Vallarta Lifestyles and he was working at the River Cafe. I've known Michael for a long time, and I know him to be one of the most dedicated restaurant people in this town. When he left, he opened Bravos, and then he opened Siam Cuisine, and recently he opened Poblanos, just like last fall, only to be slammed by the pandemic. And he struggled as much as anybody else in the restaurant business, but he has reopened. He has managed to have a steady following because he is always making sure to have an ongoing narrative online. He always keeps the story going with fans of his restaurants, from revealing very good news to revealing frustrating news about people that refuse to wear a face mask when you walk into the restaurant. He is someone to respect, and his cuisine is absolutely exemplary. We walked into Siam and our temperature was taken. We were wearing our face masks. We were invited to remove them at the table, but we were asked gently, of course, to put them on if we were going to get up to go to the bathroom or whatever. We had excellent meals. I mean, I had the coconut soup, the tom kha gai soup. I hope I said that well. I had pad thai, which was just spectacular. The service was amazing. And it was really nice to see that while we were sitting there, takeout orders kept coming out the door. So it is great to see that the takeout restaurant service at Siam is doing great. And of course, I figured, well, I mean, as long as we're here and they have takeout, I ordered pad thai to go. So I'll be eating pad thai today again, and I don't mind it at all, quite the contrary. And I just want to say, we all have our favorite restaurants, and I know that I'm not going out to many of them right now simply because I want to focus on feeling comfortable at the places that I enjoy. And I have to say that you really, really want to give this restaurant a go. Thank you very much, Michael, for a wonderful experience yesterday. As always, if you have restaurants to recommend, please put them in your comment section. Make sure that you're recommending restaurants that you know, love, and trust, please, because that's the part that is really important right now, that we feel comfortable enough to go to these places and actually enjoy ourselves. Back to our headlines. A very kind reader pointed me out to this headline from Banderas News, and apparently this comet that we've been talking about, the time to see it is tonight. So I will share my link to this article so that we can all take a look at it and see exactly how we can go about enjoying this natural phenomena that I understand is not going to come back for millions of, well, not millions, thousands of years. I also want to mention that Visit Mexico is the official website that the Mexico Tourism Bureau uses to promote our country in the world. And now they've made a deal in which they're also going to promote all the so-called pueblos mágicos on the website. Pueblos mágicos are all those small towns that are very precious and have historical importance in Mexico. And we have a few of them here in the state of Jalisco. And I want to mention them just so that you can add them to your bucket list if you haven't visited them yet. The 7 pueblos mágicos, or magical towns, in the state of Jalisco are Lagos de Moreno, Mazamitla, Tapalpa, Tequila, Mascota, San Sebastián de Allende, and Talpa. So there are 7 of them. I wonder how many of those you have visited. I have visited about half of them, and the other ones I very much hope to have a chance to visit at some point. Let me now switch gears, and I want to take a quick look at your comments before we move on to the rest of the program, because the rest of the program changes gears. I'm using another software package to tell a couple of stories today. Let me take a quick look. I hope you're having a good day today. I'm having a really great day because the computer is not imploding. Yay. Let me take a quick look. Of course, there's need, Michael. People need to know. People need to know how hard you work. And I know that you're not the only restaurant. I was just so fortunate to witness it yesterday. And one thing I forgot to mention while we were dining, and this should add more comfort to your soul. While we were dining, restaurant owner Michael Buford was sitting quietly at a corner table with a spray bottle of disinfectant and a rag, patiently wiping every single menu and cleaning and disinfecting every page of every menu with utmost detail. So it may mean nothing to some, but it will mean the world to others. If this is a restaurant that you can experience knowing that you're going to be well taken care of, protected, and you're going to get kick-ass food and wine to get along with it, it's this restaurant. Thank you, Michael. I'm sorry to hear about your rescue parrot, Julie. I love parrots. There's always been parrots in my life. And I'm sorry to hear that. Whenever we lose a pet, it's a horrible thing. Lots of great comments about Siam. I am so glad that you and I are all on the same page. And yes, Michael Buford posted this, which is absolutely wonderful. Let me see. Paul is watching while loading despensas. Let us remember that Paul Chris continues to be working on raising funds to make sure that people that cannot otherwise find ways to feed themselves can do so. Let me see. Sylvie is pushing her do a live stream. We talked about this yesterday, Sylvie. I hope you're going to have some interesting things to tell us about what you're going to do. Again, I am glad that you're sharing the Facebook link, and I'll include it in the show notes. So this is good. We wish you success in your very first live stream. From one that live streams every single day, I can tell you things will go wrong, because things go wrong. And if things go wrong, just go with it, because as they say, the show must go on. Sometimes things don't happen the way we expect them to, and enjoy yourself. And I hope your live tonight is truly, truly successful. Now, I want to bring up an interesting situation. I want to remind us of a fabulous, colorful week we had a couple of weeks ago when, there was an internet troll that was dismissed from Coffee and Headlines because of his colorful poetry. And then I happened to mention some details about a lovely restaurant here in town, about the restaurant's owner, and then his wife came to his rescue. And what you never knew was the colorful poetry that she shared with me in private. And this got me thinking, we see all kinds of really ugly things printed on Facebook these days. We read about all the we read about how all the Karens, and I thought to myself, we are not all necessarily um, equipped to handle these kinds of conflicts, or maybe some are better equipped than others. And I figured I would appeal to a very good friend of mine who is a life coach, and she is a performance coach, and she works with individuals and businesses and with hotels on how to deal with conflict resolution. And I would love to tell you her story, if I may, before we jump into my Audra McDonald. Let me start by showing you this image of the wonderful Janice Chatterton, the late Janice Chatterton, who we love because she was the founder of the local chapter of the SPCA. And that there she is with all her dogs. I will spare you the wonderful story of how in her hotel, Hacienda San Angel, she had a wonderful singer, Vicky Carr, as a guest one time. And Vicky Carr came to Puerto Vallarta to sing a concert to benefit the SPCA. And when Vicky Carr walked into the hotel, she was bitten by one of Janice's dogs. But we're not here to talk about that. Anyhow, Janice Chatterton founded SPCA, but even before she did that, she founded the wonderful Hacienda San Angel Hotel, which is in the Gringo Gulch neighborhood. If you've never visited this hotel, it is a true masterpiece. And Janice ran the hotel with an iron fist. I mean, she was the most incredibly tough hotelier, and she had a reputation about it. Well, behind an iron-fisted hotel owner is a wonderful concierge. And for many years, the concierge at Hacienda San Angel was my dear friend, Rocio Martinez Quintal. Now, Rocio Martinez Quintal, like any concierge, needs to become certified to be a concierge. And when you are certified to be a concierge, you go through whatever training you go through. And then when you're done, you receive what is known as the golden keys. And the golden keys is a pin, a small pin which you can wear in your coat, which is made of metal, and it signifies that you are a bona fide concierge. Well, Rocio had her pin, and she was absolutely wonderful. And when she became the concierge for Mexico Boutique Hotels, which is a company that manages and promotes a series of hotels, the Concierge Association removed her pin because, according to them, you can only be a real concierge when you are sitting at a hotel answering questions for that hotel. And Rocio was really bummed out when this happened. But she is one of those people that is a true professional at dealing with all kinds of quirky requests that guests may have or hotel owners may have. So I got in touch with Rocio, and I explained to Rocio about the fabulous situation that we had with that restaurant that we choose not to talk about anymore. And I said to her, Rocio, I know you don't work with social media. I know that you are here to talk about hotels and businesses and how to deal with customers and so forth and so on. But could you share with Coffee and Headline readers 5 awesome tips that we should all take into account when dealing with conflict resolution situations online, otherwise known as how not to be a Karen? And Rocio shared the following with me. Drum roll. Number 1, hold on. Let me go back to number 1. Number 1, before confronting someone, identify your desired outcome. Resolve the conflict or prove that you're correct. I suspect that a lot of times when we go online, we want to make sure that everybody knows that we are right. And sometimes that may or may not be the best outcome. And if that is your outcome, just be mindful of that. Maybe that is more important than resolving the conflict. Who knows? But it is important to think a little bit about what our desired outcome is. Number 2, accept the fact that different people have different points of view. And that is a tough one. We always assume or wish to assume that everybody is going to think the way we do. Number 3, don't have expectations about how you would like the other person to respond, because the moment we start having expectations and the person does not react the way we want the other person to react, what's going to happen? Our Karen factor is going to increase. Number 4, ask questions. Make sure that you understood what the other person is trying to tell you. When I think about that particular step, sometimes what I do is, if somebody's talking to me on the telephone, I might say, okay, what I heard you say is boom, 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 boom. And I'll make sure that through the language, there is clarity between the message. Because a lot of times it's easy for us to think that somebody said something that we thought was something else, and then things just get ugly. And last but not least, and this is important, every comment you make, I'm going to say every comment we make, every action we take will be public. How do we wish to be perceived by others? And I think this is golden, because a lot of times we just rant and go at it, and then after our keyboard has been clicking, we go, oh shit, is that really the way we want to be remembered? And what Rocio shared with us, I think, is a truly wonderful gift. And I am very grateful to her. And I will share contact information with about Rocio, so that if you're interested in learning more about her services to hotels or her services to companies, she's doing all kinds of really wonderful online workshops right now, and one-on-one tutorials and coachings. So I think this is something that you would very much enjoy. And of course, being a concierge in Puerto Vallarta, she is completely bilingual. So just know that. And once again, thank you very much to Rocio. Let me take a quick look at your comments before we dive into the wonderful Audra McDonald. And yes, this is going to be a little bit longer than usual, but let me take a look. Lots of love for Siam. Wonderful. If you haven't been to Siam, just Siam cuisine, just go. Or order takeout. Ordering takeout gives the waiters, the waiters, unfortunately, they don't have as much work. So he has his own delivery service, and it's really fast. My friend Catherine, who lives just down the street from me and just 3 blocks away from Costco, we know that Siam cuisine is in Emiliano Zapata, and she told me that she ordered pad thai the other night, and she had it at her home within 20 minutes. And Michael explained to me last night that, the wonderful thing about Thai food is that it cooks really quickly. You just throw a lot of things into the wok, and bam, it's ready. So it is really wonderful to see that this is the way this happens. I see a recommendation for Maximilianos on Olas Altas. Thank you very much, Susan. Bam, 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 beam. Interesting. So you can give a shout out to Paul and his needs for building despensas, but not the Vallarta Food Bank. This is the way it works, Rob. Putting together this show is time consuming, and we're not telepaths. We keep our eyes open to what we see and try to be as fair about information that we receive. I can check my inbox, but I can tell you that I don't believe Vallarta Food Bank has ever sent me anything. Not a newsletter, not a come check us out, not an invitation, not information. So it's not like I am not talking about somebody. It's just that, we're not telepaths. So hopefully, you can share and send us some information about what Vallarta Food Bank is doing, and hopefully we can feature it on the program. So by mentioning someone, it's not that we're dissing anybody else. Some love for Rocio. This is great to see. Dun, 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 dun. I ask leading questions, so they are forced to see that the opinion is wrong. Yes, my dear, and that's what gets you in trouble too. uh, Logan, who is also a concierge, chimes in with his own commentary, and this is wonderful to see. Okay, so I think we're all caught up, and I think this is a good time to remember the fact that a few days ago, it was just 2 days ago, I mentioned that the wonderful Audra McDonald is going to be live this afternoon at the Carnegie Hall Facebook page, and and this is really wonderful because she is absolutely untouchable in my book as far as her accomplishments on the stage, on the screen. She is an opera star. She's a Broadway star. She's been on television in shows like Private Practice, The Good Wife. She has won 6 Tony Awards, and that's more than any other actor ever. And I offered to talk a little bit about her today in case you didn't know about her. And I am happy to do that because, again, she is super, super wonderful. I see a question here. Linda Vasquez, how should I send info to you? Linda, there's a contact form on my website, which is, the link to the website is included in the show notes every single day. We publish the link to the website. So anyhow, going back to Audra McDonald, she has by the time she popped on my radar, okay, and what I want to talk about Audra is not how wonderful she was on this show or how wonderful she was on that show. For better or worse, I'm going to make it personal, and I'm going to talk about Audra moments that have just absolutely wowed me. So Audra popped in my radar, or rather, by the time she popped in my radar, she had already won 3 Tony Awards. And I believe she was 28 years old. And she won 3 Tony Awards in less than 5 years. And the only people had been able to accomplish this before her were Shirley Booth, Gwen Vedran, and Zero Mostel. And this was in 1999 is when she popped into my radar. In 1999, television sets were rectangular. They were not widescreen. So in that year, Disney Pictures put out the most spectacular made-for-television production of Annie. And the first words I ever heard Audra sing came from that production. Cecile will pick out all your clothes. And I heard those 7 words and I was like, whoa, who is this woman? And, this was a star-studded production. I mean, the choreography, the music, everything was fabulous. Of course, of all the cast of the show, the only person that I was aware of at the time was, of course, the wonderful Kathy Bates. But Kristen Chenoweth was there, and Alan Cumming was there, and Victor Garber was there. And I didn't make the connection at the time that Victor Garber, I had a crush on when I was a kid when I watched him in the Godspell movie because he played the leading role in that movie. So that was 1999. I may have watched the movie actually in the year after, but that was the first time that I saw Audra McDonald, and I thought, oh my God, this is so modern. She is the leading lady, and Garber is the leading man, and she is her skin is darker than his, and I thought, oh, that's innovative, So that to me was absolutely wonderful, and of course, I'm going to share a clip of this scene from YouTube, and that's something else that happens today with everything that I'm going to share that has to do with Audra McDonald. Everything is stuff that you can find on YouTube in the show notes, which I see people asking, where are the show notes? this is, Rob, you must be new. Let me explain that after every single broadcast, I add links to everything that we discussed during the broadcast. And these links are the show notes, and you will find them in 3 different places. You will find them on the Facebook post where this video is. I go back and edit the post and I add the show notes. Number 2, you will find them on my website, our website, which is paco-ojeda.com. And number 3, if you're a YouTube user and you watch the show on YouTube, we feature the show notes there as well. And they're going to come up after this broadcast is over. Going back to Audra, we move on to 1998. Actually, that was before she was in Annie. She released her very first album on None Such Records, and it was called Way Back to Paradise. Now, something that is wonderful about Audra, in my opinion, is 2 things. Number 1, she loves story songs, and when she delivers story songs, she becomes the character, and you can actually hear this in the recordings, even if you're not watching her live. And number 2, something that I always admire about her is that she always includes songs in her recitals and in her albums that are composed by young composers. She has been seen in interviews saying, for me, I don't care who wrote the song needs to speak to me, and I need to be able to sing it. From this particular album, I'm going to share a video of one song that is called Stars and the Moon, which is the story of a woman that says she met a man that had no fortune, and he was the simplest, most wholesome, most wonderful man, and he fell in love with her and offered her the most glorious, wonderful, loving life and the stars and the moon. And she says, well, I'd rather have a yacht. So the song continues moving on, and she meets other men that offer her more and more things. And then by the end of the song, she realizes, and I'm not going to spoil it for you because, again, this is a story song. And for me to spoil the ending of the song would be completely unfair. In 2006, she released Build a Bridge. And Build a Bridge is a wonderful album. It consists largely of compositions with lovelorn lyrics. It includes, speaking of My Stupid Mouth, it includes My Stupid Mouth, the wonderful song by John Mayer. It includes God Give Me Strength, a song written by Burt Bacharach and Elvis Costello for the film Grace of My Heart. And we talked about Grace of My Heart a few weeks ago when we were talking about the composers in the Brill Building. She sings the wonderful Being Green, which is a song that Kermit the Frog used to sing. So this 2006 album is absolutely priceless. Then 2013, she released Go Back Home. And in this album, she had gone through many, many, many years without recording. And she was absolutely amazing in this album. And the one song that she sings in this album, which speaks to me as one of my 10 favorite songs ever, is called I'll Be Here. And I'll Be Here is the story of a woman that loses the love of her life in 9/11, and how she goes through life not knowing how or when to move on. And all of a sudden, she meets somebody new. And I'm not going to spoil the end of this song either, because you need to listen to it to find out whether she's able to let go of her past or not. And this song is very personal to her, and she said this in an interview. Audra McDonald's father died unexpectedly in a plane crash on a sunny day in California. And losing a loved one, she said in an interview that I'm going to share with you, was very difficult for her stepmother. You know, she lost the love of her life. So Audra, when this particular song came to her attention through her manager, she was like, oh, here we go. There goes another story song. But she realized, oh my God, this song just ripped my heart out of my chest and put it right in front of me. So All these songs that I'm mentioning, I am going to share links for the songs so you can enjoy them yourselves. Um, Finally, I'm going to share a few choice moments in which I went, oh my God, it's Audra, because this will give you a range of her scope. I mean, the range of the projects that she undertakes never ceases to amaze me. In 2014, she joined Jimmy Fallon in singing Yahoo Answers. And it is absolutely hysterical. There's one example of an answer on the screen. How can I be the life of the party? And she responds singing, learn how to juggle. Everyone loves a juggler. So what they did is they took all these zany questions from Yahoo Answers and they set them to music, and they had Audra McDonald sing them. On that same year, Audra McDonald became Madame Garderobe in the live version of Beauty and the Beast. And there is a ballroom scene where her makeup is completely of that period, that Baroque period. And the production of the film, if you haven't seen it, is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm going to leave you the ballroom scene so that you can watch it after the show. Also in 2014, and she's not even in this picture, but the New York Philharmonic staged a concert version of Stephen Sondheim's Sweeney Todd that included people like Bryn Terfel, the amazing Welsh baritone singer, Emma Thompson. They were both on the lead, but Audra McDonald was also on that show. And the opening number, there's been many adaptations of concert versions of musicals, but you have never seen anything that will make you gasp as the opening scene, the opening song, the Overture of Sweeney Todd, as performed in concert at Avery Fisher Hall by the New York Philharmonic and this amazing cast of performers that includes the wonderful Audra McDonald. And again, you'll have the link in a little while. This year, we celebrated Stephen Sondheim's, I believe it was his 90th birthday, with a star-studded live concert that was done in pandemic circumstances. And of course, the wonderful Christine Baranski, the wonderful Meryl Streep, and the wonderful Audra McDonald took turns singing Ladies Who Lunch from one of Sondheim's shows. And of course, if you're a theater lover, you have seen this performance by now. It was one of a kind, crazy, wonderful, because the song is a very hard to sing song, and it is a one-person song, and it stars, the performance starts with Christine Baranski, who is a singer, but she's not a spectacular singer. So one begins to wonder, what is Christine Baranski doing singing this song? And all of a sudden, Meryl Streep comes in, and then all of a sudden, Audra comes in, and it is just absolutely phenomenal. And I will leave you not only this performance, but also a great interview that Christine Baranski gave about how the song came about. And the story will make you feel envious that all three of them are very good friends with the wonderful Stephen Sondheim. And I believe I have one more. Of course, I do. That is our Audra McDonald forming the role of Aretha Franklin's mother in the movie Respect, which he's not even in movie theaters yet. We've seen the trailers of this. This is coming to movie theaters at the end of the year. So Audra McDonald is going to perform the role of young Aretha Franklin in this film. So this is just a quick love letter to the wonderful Audra McDonald, and I am very appreciative for the fact that a few of you are still here enjoying this information, and this is probably a good time to wrap it up, because we've gone for almost an hour. I don't know when on earth I had this crazy idea. Even Luna's still here. I don't know when I had this crazy idea of doing a love letter to Audra McDonald, because she is one of the most amazing performers on this earth, in my opinion. And I've seen her in interviews. I tried to find an article that I read about her a million years ago. I think it was published by the New York Times, in which the New York Times described her as being so real that she once posted on Facebook something along the lines of, "Dear Zit, why are you appearing on my face when I'm a middle-aged woman?" You know, and when I read that, I was like, oh my God, she is a genuine person. She is down to earth, and she's married to a guitarist, and they're a Broadway couple, and she's just wonderful. Anyhow, this is a very long but very heartfelt, very storytelling version of Coffee and Headlines today. As always, I am grateful for your company. I'm grateful for the fact that you stick around. I am grateful for the fact that you ask questions, that you share comments and suggestions. Um, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to help create connections between us and our environment, our city, our culture, our minds, our hearts. And with that said, I'm going to wish you a wonderful Thursday. If you can, please find a way to tune into Audra McDonald later on. I believe it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock on the Carnegie Hall Facebook page. It'll be on the show notes. And as always, stay safe, stay happy, stay creative, and stay kind. I will see you again soon.